Jeeps, Rams, and Dodges are some of the worst selling products in the Stellantis lineup, which is a clear indicator that Stellantis holds some of the worst selling products in the entire automotive industry. And with day supply rising at an ever increasing rate, consumers getting less interested in a lot of these products, and also buyers looking for vehicles that are more competitively priced as well as more reliable, it often leaves a lot of these brands now in a world of hurt. Things are changing, sales are down, and the day supply is rising through the roof. And Stellantis has one of the worst selling vehicles on the market. As a matter of fact, it was literally the worst, most days supply vehicle on the market and on the industry. And there we have it. Nobody's buying these, nobody wants these, and we're talking about the Dodge Hornet. They're not very popular, and it's taking literal forever to sell these vehicles. But when you actually look at the list of the worst sellers in the entire industry, Dodge Hornet actually slide to number 2. They were the second worst now, currently in June of 24, with Jaguar I-Pace sliding to number 1 slot. Jaguar with about 575 days supply. The Hornet has about 550 days supply, followed by the Volvo C40, 386 days supply. The Nissan Titan has about 305 days. Chev Traverse, 296. And as well from the Blazer EV is also taking 274 days to sell the entire inventory that they currently have. And another Stellantis product with 258 days supply for the Wagoneer. The Lincoln Navigator, 247 days. The Ram 2500, like we have right in front of us, has about 231 days supply. And the Jeep Gladiator isn't selling particularly well either, with 219 days supply of the market inventory. So what's going on at Stellantis headquarters that a lot of their Jeeps, Dodge, and Ram products aren't selling all that well? Well, there's a few main reasons we'll get to at the very end. One of the key reasons, of course, is the cost of living, and it's not getting any cheaper to afford any of these expensive vehicles. Interest rates aren't going down. People were hoping and keeping their fingers crossed to get interest rate breaks, but the US reserves are not literally looking like dropping rates anytime soon, and they're going to continually hold. In Canada, they dropped it by 2 basis points, but that's still not really enough to give you big incentives to buy a new vehicle. And at the end of the day, your dollar doesn't stretch as far as it used to. Unemployment rates are still hovering steady. They're up and down, but they're not amazing. So people are working, but a lot of those jobs are underpaying. I mean, people are working at jobs now like backfilling an oil and gas job. Now they're having to work at Walmart and greeting. Or maybe they're working at McDonald's, where before they had a job that was paying 80 grand a year. Now they've dropped down to $35,000 a year because unemployment's been up and down and the whole market has been shifting. There's been many of those big corporate jobs going bye-bye, as a lot of the big corporate tech jobs and sectors like that, as well as oil and gas and energy, have been taking a big hit in the last few months. And this all shows where a lot of people used to go out, meet up with coworkers, and they'd get together, go for a great dinner out at Earl's or some other fine dine like the Keg, and now they don't have the money, so instead they're grabbing their paper bag lunch and going out with a bologna sandwich to work instead. So the writing's been on the wall, and while we've seen a lot of shuffling at the top end with some of the senior executives, Tim, for example, has walked after 32 years in the industry as managing Dodge and Ram products. He has waved bye-bye. And as well, there's been other shuffling and moving of a lot of the senior management, indicating that they are trying to make a bigger change, trying to have an impact on the bottom line, because they're not making money. They're not selling the products that they need to sell to stay afloat. It's a serious financial crisis impending here in Stellantis, literally running parallel to the cost of living crisis that you and I have, because we can't afford to buy these expensive SUVs and trucks. So having many days supply often represents an indication that vehicles aren't selling, and it makes a person wonder, why aren't they selling? Well, probably for various reasons. Number one, maybe it's a less popular model that people just don't want. There's market shifts and changes. The vehicle clearly is old news and people just don't want it. But with all of that factored in, when you consider high day supply, it also represents a great opportunity to get amazing deal. You can go in there, negotiate till your heart's content, and you might be able to get yourself an amazing deal if you have the cash in hand. Don't forget those big deposits. You don't want to forget at least 20% down. Don't exceed 10% of your gross monthly income, and try to keep your payments within a 4-year time frame. But a Gladiator like this, as we're looking, has typical Jeep front. Just in case you're not aware, you have the all-terrain rubber. Here's the Gladiator, as we notice here. You do get the 4 doors, but you also get the truck box instead, as opposed to a standard Jeep where you get more of an enclosed SUV design. The Gladiator gives you the box, so it gives you a certain level of versatility that a lot of people appreciate. So you get all the greatness that a Jeep has to offer in the off-road prowess, but you actually have a pickup truck ability to haul some small loads. And currently, as we speak right now in June, there's about 24,152 of these units available, and only barely over 4,900 have sold recently, with an average day supply of about 219 days. This means even with the Gladiator being as popular as it was when it first came out, clearly nobody's buying them, nobody cares, nobody wants them, and it's yesterday's news. And so you might be able to get yourself a great buy with one of these vehicles if you happen to be in the market. This is one of those that certainly has more negotiation ability. And over here we have some of the HD trucks. We have 3500s, 2500s, but the 2500 Ram is one of the hardest selling vehicles, partially because with the 3500 you get the full 1-ton chassis, but the 3/4 ton is basically at the 2500 level, and the prices are just too high. Here is a brand new 4x4. Clearly it's a Ram 2500. This is a Laramie. So this is a 3/4 ton pickup truck, and it has some great amenities. Crew Cab Night Edition 4x4 2500, and the 2500 obviously gives you a 3/4 ton chassis. Not quite as beefy as some of the 1-ton trucks over there, but here we have the 2500 HD heavy duty, which has most of the same features as you expect in some of the 1-ton trucks. And this one also gives you the Cummins turbo diesel engine, the painted handles, and some of the other trim upgrades. This one here also has a nice leather interior, beautiful inside. We have a sunroof. We have the larger display panel, of course, in the center. It's a beautiful truck. But these are not selling. Well, most people, other than the cost, which is one of the main contributing factors, but if you're gonna go for a full-size HD truck, probably gonna go to the 1-ton 3500. Even a single rear wheel on the 1-ton is essentially like this, but it gives you a little extra tow capacity. But it's the price tag of these vehicles that are the main driver, and it's always been the driver. Stellantis has been pushing their prices up, and this Night Crew Laramie is 3/4 ton is $108,000 and 900. So basically 109 grand for this brand new 3/4 ton turbo diesel Laramie. That's a lot of money. Like, I can't believe it. That's way beyond what I can afford. And this 3/4 ton pickup truck has a significant day supply, sitting around 231 days currently. Effectively is where these sit. In the last 45 days, they've only sold about 9,200 of these units, and there's actually about 47,611 currently sitting on the lots across America. It means you have the choice of colors, styles, configurations. 3/4 ton Rams, they're not selling. You might get yourself an amazing deal if you go in and negotiate and sharpen your pencil. But another reason a lot of them aren't selling so well is they haven't seen the big incentives. And while we're seeing incentives save over $18,500 on Ram 1500 models, that really only applies for the most part to the classics, the half-ton trucks, the old stock that they're trying to get rid of. And for the most part, the bigger, beefier HD pickup trucks are going to be a harder sell because they're not given the incentives and people are looking for the help. And the Hornets, like we see here, we already said, not selling well. They were literally the worst selling vehicle in the automotive sector up until about a few weeks ago, where now the Jaguar I-Pace has outdone this, but still, these are not selling. Only about 1,283 of these have actually sold in the last 45 days. And there's 550 days supply on these little Hornets, which leaves about 15,679 units available across the industry to buy up today. So you have choices of white, you can get into a beautiful blue vehicle. How about the grays? All kinds of greatness here. You're not fooling a lot of people, because a lot of people know this is the Alfa Romeo Tonale dressed in a reskin. And of course, a lot of people recognize or appreciate or associate the lower quality and the issues with reliability to vehicles like Alfa Romeo. Whether they're problematic or not, there's a bit of a reputation. And now the Dodge Hornet, which is essentially the same vehicle, is carrying that same burden of unreliability. Whether it's bad or not, time will tell, because it's a newer model, but that certainly doesn't help its cause. And beyond just the cost of living crisis, there's a true buyer's fatigue. The whole market, the industry's been so up and down. People have been treated like yo-yos. People are now trying to hold on to their money a little longer. And when they see even vehicles like this, a base Jeep like this, priced the way it is, people are starting to get a little desensitized to advertisements as well as incentives, because even vehicles like this, Wrangler 4-door Sport S, as we notice right here, 4x4, as they pretty much all are, we're talking $66,000 for a base 4-door Jeep. This has the basic little highway tires on it, plastic materials, more plastics, unpainted roof, and the smaller rims means that while this will get the job done, for the most part, this isn't what the true hardcore off-roading enthusiast is looking for. They don't want the sport. They want something more like this that actually has all-terrain rubber and not the little baby highway skins. And while buyers aren't the only ones responding to these extremely high vehicle prices, So are the birds. They're not loving these high prices either, as clearly they've literally left their stamp on the whole industry, and they are showing you that they're not satisfied with these high vehicle prices. So what is pretty clear is Stellantis, with almost representation from every one of their models, for example like Jeeps, pickup trucks, SUVs like the Dodge Durango, the Hornets, none of those vehicles are selling all that well. And some of them are the biggest losers in the entire industry, which is a representation of the fact that they're not being competitive. And on top of this, to make things even worse, they're literally going to be changing. There's promises that they're going to start upscaling and making more vehicles, EV-based type vehicles or hybrids. And they're talking about another 25 separate models coming out here in the next couple of years, all on the back of the fact that the tried and true blue-blooded customer of the Ram brand is usually somebody looking for a good old-fashioned V8 engine, gas jobby, and nobody in that space wants an electric vehicle. Even though some of the electric vehicles are selling reasonably well in the Jeep line, that's not enough to keep the brand afloat, just relying on one specific model that's doing particularly well. Uh-oh, looks like somebody's in trouble over there. Not a good day for that guy. Looks like he's just going to do his job and the cops pull him over. Ouch. What is going on over there? Why do they just have to bust the guy's chops here just for driving along? Oh well, it must have been something he did. And then here's another one of the worst sellers in the Ram Stellantis brand. Of course, we're talking about the full-size Jeep, and we know we're talking about the Wagoneer, as you can see. But hey, you get a good old-fashioned American flag on there. You get the big running boards and big glossy rims. Lots of space there for all the families and friends, and you want to ride this across a border, this will get you there. There's all kinds of space in there for all kinds of happy people. But only about 1,722 of these sold in 45 days, and an available inventory of about 9,856 units. There's currently a 258-day supply of the Wagoneers like we're looking at here. That means that's almost 8 or 9, 10 months. If they stop production today, they would still be selling these for probably a good part of the year yet. And the worst part is it's because these are not affordable. They're very expensive. And while they're now trying to upmarket, upscale, and create a product that is competing with the likes of Audi, BMW, Benz, they're not sure that this is necessarily the product to do that. And Jeep has really been pushing that. Ram, the whole Stellantis brand has been trying to upmarket their vehicles, but I'm not sure the market is really ready for it yet. When people are looking for Jeeps, they think Jeep. They don't think luxury vehicle. And while it may have a lot of great attributes, now they're talking about even increasing some of their problems by coming out with a Wagoneer S for some models coming up, which is going to be electrified. And of course, we have the Grand Wagoneer, all of which are exceeding $100,000 in Canadian funds. Makes it a very unaffordable and unattainable type of vehicle for most buyers in this type of space. It's not a luxury vehicle. And sure, it's pretty. You do get all the great touches. You get the headlights, and you get some of that looks like it's from a Ram, but then you get the Jeep touches here. Wagoneer, I like that script. It is cute. You get the tow hooks on here, all kinds of nice trim, and the headlight and the mirrors over here look really nice too. High gloss, two-tone handles right here, and a roof rack up there. It's beautiful. So it's becoming more clear to buyers that it's becoming a very complicated conversation about why a lot of Stellantis products aren't selling. I mean, you get problems with vehicles like this that are trying to go upmarket, that don't have the type of backing, and of course the type of people that are looking for this, considering it a luxury vehicle, but willing to spend over $100,000. And then they continue building vehicles like the Durango, which needs a serious refresh and feels about as old as George Burns, and then bringing in an Italian-inspired vehicle like this to the market, knowing full well that a lot of American consumers aren't necessarily looking for that type of vehicle and not ready for that challenge of reliability. And even a lot of these Challengers and Chargers aren't selling at all either, and they represent a great buy. If you're looking for something and you want to get into a car and not particularly fussy, you can get some great deals there. And a lot of these dealers are now willing to deal on some of those Chargers and Challengers, because now the transition to electrified market means a lot of those vehicles are just sitting orphaned, ready for sale. And amidst the cost of living crisis, it's insult to injury and a poke in the eye for the consumer seeing Wranglers, Jeeps that essentially are priced at $85,000. People aren't ready to pay out the door prices. 85 grand means you're gonna out the door probably $95,000. Now you're almost reaching and touching that $100,000 tab for a Jeep. Sure, it's electrified. Sure, it's got the great 4 doors and I said all-terrain tires and the lockable front differential, but that's a lot of money and people aren't ready to spend that, or right now they're fatigued. It's true buyer's fatigue, as well as the cost of living crisis is crushing people into oblivion. And now, even with pickup trucks the price the way they are, it's absolutely bananas. I think 10 years ago, you could get yourself a dually pickup truck diesel like this with the Cummins, and that vehicle was about $60,000. And now we have this beautiful truck. Granted, it's great because it has the big flares, the dually wheels. This is a Ram with the turbo diesel Cummins, 3500 HD, big fold-away mirrors, beautiful. But this truck is selling for $120,000 right there. And no amount of sunroof or leather interior or white plastic handles is going to justify the price tag to a lot of customers, and these vehicles continue to sit. 3500s, 2500s not selling. And of course, the only Rams really selling are fleet vehicles, as well as the hard giveaways, or essentially the incentivized Ram 1500 classics. So with all this moving and shaking and management shuffling, maybe at some point somebody will rise to the top and think, wait a minute, people don't have money to buy all these expensive vehicles? Right. And that's really what it's going to take. The realization that this isn't the market that it used to be. This isn't the market that we saw in 22 or in 23, that there has been a slump. Less people have the money. The money is not out there. People are unemployed. Interest rates are still high and they're not getting a break. Government's not throwing money out anymore. And as a matter of fact, they're clawing back and they want some of that money returned back to them. I know in the Canadian government, for example, the CERB payout, they want all that back. And now people are having to make some very difficult decisions. Uh-oh, keep that vehicle, pay the government, and be buried under financial distress for the next 18 years, or let it default, walk away from it, or sell it and downsize to something smaller and more affordable. Those are the hard decisions a lot of people are making in today's environment. And unfortunately, Stellantis, with the expensive Jeeps, trucks, SUVs, they just really aren't touching the common buyer of a lot of these types of vehicles. They don't get it, but I have faith eventually the market will settle out. And I do believe, keep watching it for those incentives. If you are truly buying and you have the money and the funds, definitely watch out. You will have some great opportunities coming up soon. This year in 24, it feels like as days supply rise, the incentives continue to rise, new models with pushes to get the old stuff out, you'll be guaranteed to find yourself an amazing deal on yesterday's news. And just in case you figure I can't afford a new vehicle, hey, check it out right there. You know, that video I just created, it's all about the used car market crash right there. Yes, buyers absolutely win and sellers lose. You definitely want to see that. Hope to see each and every one in the next one. See you real soon. Bye-bye.